prehistoric animals that are still alive today. Awe-inducing creatures like mastodons, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats and even dire wolves have sadly gone extinct since the last ice age ended about 11,700 years ago. But that doesn't mean you're out of luck in seeing prehistoric animals today. There are still plenty of wildlife species that predate recorded history, and they even exist as they did when roaming with our loincloth-clad ancestors. Some of these animals can only be found in zoos and protected nature preserves because their populations are starting to fall, or they are already endangered. Others can still be found in the wild, and maybe even in your own backyard. Wherever you see them, these ancient animals are sure to inspire wonder. Gharial. All crocodiles, caimans and alligators are ancient species, and they look the part. But one species of crocodilian, the gharial, sometimes called a gavial, beats them all in the prehistoric-looking beauty contest. Gharials have long, narrow, sword-like mouths full of buzzy teeth. Males develop a huge bulbous nose at the end of their snout, making them look rather comical. Gharials in some form or another have been around for tens of millions of years, but the modern gharial is the last remaining species of this lineage. Alas, it too is heading towards extinction, with fewer than 200 individual reproducing gharials left in the wilds of India, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Komodo dragon. You can find Komodo dragons in Indonesia today, but that might not be where these iconic lizards came from originally. Scientists recently unearthed a series of Komodo dragon fossils in eastern Australia dating back as far as 4 million years ago. These gigantic lizards can weigh as much, or more, than a human, and, in fact, they have been known to attack humans. Which is not ideal, since these giant reptiles are somewhat venomous. Bactrian camel. You already know about the one-humped camels used as transport in the Middle East before automobiles existed. But did you know that they evolved from the two-humped Bactrian camel, which still roams the wilds of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia? Bactrian camels, which sort of look like a cross between Chewbacca and a llama, evolved to withstand temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit and above 100 degrees Fahrenheit some 2 million years ago. Its two humps are used to store fat, which the camel breaks down into energy and water to sustain it during long, dry, food-free periods. Bactrian camels are an important part of Mongolian culture, and numerous tour operators offer camel riding expeditions. In addition, visitors can check out the annual Thousand Camels Festival, held in early March in Umnagovi, Mongolia. Echidna. Echidnas are an amazing and bizarre creature that look like a cross between a badger, a porcupine and an anteater. They're a monotreme, a type of primitive mammal that lays eggs instead of giving birth to live babies, just like their famous relative, the platypus. These animals can also be hard to find in the wild, since they're small, mostly nocturnal, and live a spaced-out and solitary life. Several species of echidna are also highly endangered, a sad fact, considering that these animals have been roaming the earth for an estimated 17 or so million years. They can be found at the Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary in Hobart, Tasmania, the Australia Zoo in Queensland, and the Taronga Zoo in Sydney. Musk oxen. Musk oxen can be quite a sight, and smell, to behold, especially during the fall rutting season. During this time, bull musk oxen fight for control of harems by sprinting towards each other and bashing their heads with such force that it can shake the ground from a long distance away. It's a wonder how these animals still survive, but it's estimated they've been around for 187,000 to 129,000 years. Currently there are several thousand musk oxen in Alaska, though their populations have been declining in recent years. Make sure to also check out gnome vendors selling kiviot, the delicately soft underwool harvested from captive or even wild musk oxen. This wool is some of the finest and warmest in the world, and is even rarer than cashmere. Vicuna. Speaking of luxury wool, another prehistoric animal known for its fiber is the vicuna, the ancestor of the modern-day alpaca. The two animals look very similar indeed, though vicunas have a distinctive color pattern, with white undersides and a brown saddle across most of their body. Although vicuñas were treasured by the Incas and protected, they were nearly driven to extinction by hunting after the Inca Empire fell. Happily, thanks to the work of many dedicated conservationists, there are hundreds of thousands of vicuñas in the wild today. You can see them throughout rural roads in south-central Peru, but one of the best places is in Huascarán National Park, north of Lima. There are all sorts of other treasures to see hidden away here, in the world's highest tropical mountain range, including spectacled bears, Andean condors, and the amazing Queen of the Andes flower. Chambered Nautilus. The chambered nautilus normally lives in the deep ocean around Australia and Indonesia. But if you happen to be in the area of the famous Monterey Bay Aquarium in California, you can see the ancient creatures up close. These alien-looking corkscrew-shaped animals are among the oldest in the world. Fossils of this animal have been found from 500 million years ago, and they still look exactly the same as today's descendants. They're difficult to breed in captivity, and due to declining populations in the wild, the Monterey Bay Aquarium is at the forefront of research efforts. In fact, in spring 2018, researchers successfully bred some of the first baby nautiluses in captivity. Babirusa. Babirusas are just like your everyday slightly irritable pig, except for the fact that males have gigantic tusks that grow upwards right through their snouts and curve back towards their heads. In fact, if unchecked for long enough, the tusks can pierce their foreheads. The lower tusks of babirusas grow upwards as well, making the animal look somewhat like a pig version of an orc. Babirusa are old enough to appear on Indonesian cave paintings some 35,000 years ago. Today, there are several tour operators offering Babirusa watching safaris in the Nanta Forest and Tangkoko Nature Reserve in Indonesia. Tapir. Like babirusas, tapirs also resemble pigs except for one key feature, short, elephant-like proboscis that they use for roping food into their mouths. Tapirs also use their long snouts as snorkels while walking around underwater, one of their favorite pastimes. While tapirs look rather porcine, they're actually more closely related to horses and rhinoceroses. In fact, tapirs have a long, proud history in the fossil record, having first evolved in the Miocene epoch, as late as 23 million years ago. They've evolved into numerous species since then, although today there are only 5 remaining tapir species left across Asia, Central and South America. One of the best places to see wild tapirs in the Americas is at Corcovado National Park in breathtaking Costa Rica. They can also be found throughout the Amazon rainforest. Keep your eyes peeled. Cassowary. Cassowaries are about the closest looking thing we have to a Jurassic Park velociraptor. These tall, colorful, bipedal birds have a huge slab-like ornament on the top of their head and a sharp, dagger-like claw on their feet. In fact, these birds have been known to attack and even, very rarely, kill people. Ratites, large, flightless birds, like cassowaries and emus have been around for around 60 million years. These days, you can find cassowaries in northern Queensland and Papua New Guinea. If you're lucky, quiet and careful, you can spot them while walking through forest trails in the Cape Tribulation, Daintree and Mission Beach areas in Australia, where several guided outfits offer birdwatching tours. Remember to keep your distance, and not to feed them. Okapi. The fossil record is a bit spotty for the okapi, so information is spare, but one thing scientists can all agree on is that these animals are very old, perhaps even the oldest mammals left on Earth. They're also very weird looking, resembling a cross between a deer, a zebra and a giraffe, and in fact, they're the only living relative of the latter. Okapi evolved to live relatively solitary lives in the jungle, where a long neck might get caught in the dense trees. In fact, they're so secretive that Western scientists didn't even know they existed until 1900. Up until relatively recently, it was possible to see okapi in the wild at the Okapi Wildlife Reserve in Democratic Republic of Congo. Saiga Antelope. Another odd-looking animal is the Saiga Antelope. This creature looks more like a pronghorn antelope than a pig, and indeed it is more closely related to the pronghorn. Saiga antelope were widespread across the northern hemisphere throughout the Pleistocene, but time has not been kind to them, unfortunately. After the Pleistocene ended, they died off in North America, and they can only be found in a few scattered pockets around Central Asia today. There are even recent concerns about massive mysterious die-offs. EW zoos have these animals, and it's even harder to see them in the wild, although the Askania Nova Biosphere Reserve in the Ukraine does have a small herd you can see.
Thank you very much for watching, and to get more updates on Wild World, please subscribe my channel and hit bell icon.